And a very happy Wednesday to you at 12:09 in the West. Talk Radio 790 KABC, The John Phillips Show. Broadcasting live from the Morongo Casino Resort and Spa Living Room Studios. Mr. Randy Wangs at the sports desk in Culver City.
John, this morning at the LA City Council meeting, there was a presentation by the LAFD and the LAPD on how to prevent wildfires in the month of October. And as soon as Chief Michael Moore went up to speak about what the LAPD is doing, one of his critics, the man who straps a baby to his chest, Jason Reedy, decided to cuss him out and got kicked out of the meeting. Would you like to hear it?
I always do.
Chief Moore, welcome.
Council President, thank you. Members of the council.
Mr. Reedy starts right away.
He didn't even have time to say hello.
And if you don't know who this guy is, this is the guy that got into the fist fight with Kevin De Leon at the Christmas tree giveaway.
Members of the council.
Mr. Reedy, please remove Mr. Reedy from the meeting pursuant to Council Rule 12. No, I've already warned you and the crowd. Please remove Mr. You're continuing to disrupt the meeting. Please leave the meeting quietly. Okay, you need... I just warned you several times. Now you are instructed to leave the meeting quietly. You're continuing to disrupt the meeting. Leave the meeting pursuant to Rule 12. You're subject to Rule 7 as well. Mr. Reedy, have a nice day. Leave the meeting. Leave the meeting. Leave the meeting. You're continuing to disrupt this meeting and delay the work of this council. Get out.
Doesn't he sound like a pleasant guy?
Get out. Get out. Get out. You're excluded from the meeting. Sergeants, help him to the door.
Why does this take so long?
Members, I'm sorry about the delay. We'll be ready to resume the meeting in a moment.
No, you're not.
Did get a good drop out of that one.
Get out.
You'd figure at this point they just have a trap door or something.
That's what we need. That is exactly what we need.
Like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, when Veruca Salt stood on the platform where it determined whether or not the chocolate eggs were good eggs or bad eggs. And if it determined that it was a bad egg, like it did for her, the floor just opened up and she went away. Maybe that's what they need.
I think that would be a drastic improvement to LA City Council meetings, but it would be less fun for us to cover LA City Council meetings.
Oh, of course. But that would bring decorum to that body. So there's 0% chance they're going to do that.
The people that want to cuss out the LAPD police chief, who do they call when they get mugged?
Well, my favorite factoid about this guy is it is absolutely correct, as you described. When he shows up to these meetings, he has a baby strapped to his chest, and he screams profanity at the absolute top of his lungs every opportunity he has. Robin Abkarian, who's a columnist, a left-wing columnist at the LA Times, made some sort of remark about why would you ever do that with a baby strapped to you? And oh boy, did the internet turn on her. They called her a vile racist and tried to get her fired from the LA Times for weeks upon weeks upon weeks.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
So you're saying I shouldn't go on the air and say that that's practically child abuse, taking your baby to an LA City Council meeting?
If you do that, just quote Robin Abkarian.
Robin Abkarian said that, not me.
800-222-KABC is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Well, last week we told you that our brain-dead district attorney, George Gascon, was choosing not to pursue the death penalty against the man who admitted to gunning down a Los Angeles County sheriff's deputy. Gascon said that he decided that because pursuing the death penalty wouldn't bring the dead police officer back. And since he can't bring the dead back to life, he's not going to charge the individual who admitted to the crime with a death penalty offense. Randy, the family members of the slain officer are not happy about that decision, and they spoke to Good Morning America.
What was even more outrageous than Gascon deciding not to pursue the death penalty is he did not tell the mother of the slain deputy or the fiancée of the slain deputy until the press conference where they were already on stage with him. Didn't ever tell them beforehand that he wasn't going to pursue the death penalty. So you can imagine the mother and the fiancé are so incredibly pissed off. They are now going to national television with this story so the rest of the country can see what a monster George Gascon is for protecting the monster that murdered a deputy.
I don't say this too often, even when we're talking about the buffoons that we talk about on a daily basis. But George Gascon is evil. I don't believe he's just misguided. I don't believe he's wrong. I believe this man is actually evil. He wants to destroy public safety in Los Angeles, and he's doing a pretty good job of it. And he's going to be in that office at least through this next election. I think January is when the new DA will be taking over. So this man has a year and change to do everything he can to get as many people killed as possible.
For more on all this, let's hear the story. This aired on national television this morning on Good Morning America.
Now to our exclusive interview with the family of the sheriff's deputy killed in an ambush in California. Ryan Klinkenbrummer's fiance and his mother are speaking about the life he led in his tragic death. They sat down with our Kana Whitworth. Good morning again, Kana.
Michael, good morning to you. Deputy Klinkenbrummer, known as Klink, was born into the job with a service heart from his family that has been working in law enforcement for 4 generations. His mother and fiance told me that day started with wedding planning. And by the end of the day, they were instead planning a funeral.
That's all he ever wanted to do, was wear that badge with Hunter. He did till the day he died.
This morning, the mother and fiancé of slain Los Angeles Sheriff's Deputy Ryan Klinkenbrummer speaking out exclusively with ABC News after authorities say he was brutally ambushed on duty earlier this month.
I remember that day too, like he kissed me goodbye, told me he loved me. I was like, well, I'll see you later, and just never came home.
You had been engaged 4 days?
4 days. And it was the happiest I've ever seen him. And myself.
Authorities say Klinkenbrummer was killed after leaving the Palmdale Sheriff's Station just before 6 p.m. September 16th. Investigators say this surveillance video shows the assailant's dark gray car approaching Klinkenbrummer's SUV, then pulling alongside, where they say he fatally shot the 30-year-old and then sped away. After a 36-hour manhunt, authorities using chemical agents to force 29-year-old Kevin Salazar out of his parents' home and arrest him.
The parents didn't want to throw him out?
There's something off with these parents.
Well, look who they raised.
No kidding.
Mental illness or not, that is a failure.
Salazar pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity to his murder charge. His mother claiming he has schizophrenia and that she'd reported concerns over his mental health to law enforcement, but it's unclear whether the reports should have blocked him from legally buying a gun.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Oh, great. Ricky's here.
Here he comes.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Klinkenbrummer's family says they were blindsided at this press conference when the L.A. District Attorney, George Gascon, said he would not seek the death penalty against Salazar.
If I thought that seeking the death penalty was going to bring Ryan back to us, I will seek it without any reservation.
Okay, what he just said there is so unbelievably stupid. Of course, seeking the death penalty would not bring the dead back to life. There's nothing you can do to bring the dead back to life. It's not possible. He does not ideologically believe in the death penalty, and he wouldn't give the death penalty to this individual. He wouldn't give the death penalty to the Manson family. He wouldn't give the death penalty to Osama bin Laden. He doesn't believe in that. But by going up on stage at this press conference and making that asinine statement, what he did was throw salt in the wound of this murder victim's family.
And blindside them when they're standing on the stage with him.
If I thought that seeking the death penalty was going to bring Ryan back to us, I will seek it without any reservation.
That is so disingenuous.
He's so awful.
He has no actual empathy for victims,
No.
which is job number one if you're the district attorney.
No. In fact, he sides with the killer. He believes that the victims of crime need to check their privilege and that criminals are a protected class that need his protection.
But it won't.
I think at that moment we were in a kind of a state of shock that it was not the death penalty. They weren't seeking the death penalty. Life in prison, I'm still paying for that then.
You know, that's an interesting way to think about that. Her taxes are going to continue to get that guy housed and fed for the rest of his life.
And we know what happens in California. There is no such thing as life in prison. They let the friggin' Manson family killers out. If they're willing to let the Manson family killers out, they're willing to let anyone out.
I'm still paying for that then. As a parent, as a taxpayer, it just seems that the district attorney wants to spare a life when he didn't spare my son's life. He executed my son. He assassinated my son. He assassinated her fiancé. To me, we shouldn't even be going to court. And to the governor who put a moratorium on the death penalty, I'm sorry. Things need to change.
The DA.
Which is also not legal. Death penalty has been passed overwhelmingly time and time again by the voters.
That's right. So the party that protects democracy really isn't doing a good job of checking the boxes.
The DA telling ABC News overnight, "We have nothing but compassion for the family of Deputy Klinkenbrummer."
That is also disingenuous.
Oh, my God. Dripping in disingenuousness.
Nothing that can happen in the criminal justice system will ever repair the harm of losing someone so beloved.
Yeah, but you can serve them justice.
That's the point. The point is justice and punishment. Both of those two things need to happen. You need to make sure you found the right person. You need to make sure they have a fair trial. You need to make sure that you get it right. And once you identify the person who committed this horrible assassination and you convict them, then it's time to bring them up to Old Sparky. And I'm not just talking about strapping them to a chair and filling them with poison that will cause them to die. Lethal injection, they call it. No. I want this guy to go to the electric chair, and I want flames to be shot out of the back of his head like with Ted Bundy. And then, once the flames get shot out the back of his head, I want to take marshmallows and roast them and have s'mores.
Where do you go from here?
I have to make sure that something positive comes out of this. I don't know what it is. I don't know the avenue. But I will stand behind anybody that needs me to speak so that there are changes.
To protect officers?
Absolutely.
There you go. That aired on national television this morning.
Here is what's going to happen at some point. People constantly email us, call us, ask us, what is it going to take for California to get better? And the answer is, we don't know. But the way these things work is that there is one crime that just shocks the conscience of the population. And one small, tiny thing can start the dominoes falling, both for good and bad things. The Rodney King verdict started the dominoes of the Los Angeles riots. That one decision sparked one chain reaction that led to the city burning. When Polly Klaas got abducted and murdered in the 1990s by Richard Allen Davis from her home in Petaluma, that crime frightened everyone in the state. And as a result, we got 3 strikes and you're out. We got Pete Wilson another 4 years. We got Dan Lundgren as the Attorney General. And California got tough on crime. Prior to that, we were extremely lenient on criminals. But after what happened to Polly Klaas happened, we decided that we were doing it the wrong way, and we changed things up. I don't know if this is the crime that's going to cause people to start paying attention, or more people have to die senselessly, and something else down the line will be the straw that breaks the camel's back. But at some point, something will be the straw that breaks the camel's back. And it's going to start pushing over the dominoes, and who knows where it's going to lead. And if you're one of these soft-on-crime fools like Gavin Newsom or George Gascon or fill in the blank, and you want to do what you can do to protect criminals, then you better not overreach. You better do everything that you can do right now, because if you push too far, the pendulum is going to start going the other way, and it's going to hit you right in the crotch. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, if you want to go back to last Friday when we took calls from listeners who wanted to weigh in on George Gascon's decision not to pursue the death penalty for this alleged cop killer, that is easy to do.
That's right. Go to KABC.com, click on podcasts, go to the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify, search for The John Phillips Show, hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes, and you can hear what the KABC audience has to say about, well, we don't say what the name is on the air, but you can always email us about what it is.
Quite frankly,
it's Woo Wednesday.
Ric Flair, let's hear it.
It's Woo Wednesday. Yeah, baby. Woo, 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 woo. Woo, 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 woo.
And Randy, that means tomorrow is Throwback Thursday.
That's right. In the 2 o'clock hour, we're going to open up the phones. And if you got a suggestion for the music we play on tomorrow's show, an interesting theme, something creative, somebody emails that said in the wake of Gavin doubling the gun tax, we should have songs about guns. Whatever it is, you call us when we say so, and we'll pick one lucky listener who chooses all the music for tomorrow's Throwback Thursday.
In the meantime, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Well, let's do that right now. 790 KABC welcomes Peter Gabriel to the Acrisure Arena on October 14th. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com, but right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-790-5222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets are furnished by Live Nation. Good luck dialing.
But first, in San Francisco, the city by the bay has been getting hammered, not just by the local press, but by the national press for their out-of-control crime and homeless problem. The mayor of San Francisco, London Breed, who is the face of the city, is now officially all the way pissed off.
And less tolerant of all the bullshit that has destroyed our city.
Oh, I love when she gets pissed off.
She's also up for re-election and doesn't want to lose her position as mayor. So, in the very famously left-wing city, she's decided to take the tough-on-crime position, which means she's the devil to all the left-wingers. But, Randy, it looks like she's digging her heels in.
That's right. Yesterday, London Breed held a press conference in San Francisco where she announced a new strategy to deal with the relentless drug problems that we see with the homeless encampments. Any homeless person that's getting government assistance, well, they got to get drug tested and they need to go into treatment or no free money for you. And that is shocking that is a policy proposal coming out of San Francisco in 2023.
This is something that Republicans wanted to do back in the 1990s, where Democrats screamed and yelled that it was racist if you want people on welfare to be drug tested. And now it's a policy that's being proposed in of all places, San Francisco.
That's because London Breed's not taking this crap anymore. Let's hear what she had to say.
San Francisco is a known compassionate city. And when you think about the amount of services and resources that we offer to the public, we lead with our hearts. We lead with a desire to help people. For so many folks who have family members who suffer from addiction, this sometimes can be really personal, wanting to see the city.
And personal to her, too. I'm pretty sure she's had family members, one of them, I think, overdosed and died on drugs, and one that was in prison.
That's right. So she's speaking about something she knows about.
She was the one good kid.
Wanting to see the city do more to help people get into treatment. It should not be more convenient to get access to drugs than it is to get access to treatment.
Now, there is a policy I can get behind.
Absolutely. You just have to stick with it. You can't cave.
And what we are trying to do with a number of our changes and initiatives that I realize are a tad bit controversial, we're trying to get people into treatment. This is where we are. We see something a lot different with what the drugs are doing to people today than ever before. we see so many more people dying, not just going through a situation and getting better, dying on our streets of San Francisco. We're seeing more lives lost to this than COVID. And with COVID, we shut the whole world down.
Interesting point.
Part of the problem for them, especially the left-wingers on that board of supervisors who say there's no homeless problem here, there's no crime problem here, these are right-wing tropes, is that this is a picture story. It's like the border. You can say there's no problem, but if you've got helicopter shots of people streaming across the border and no one's saying anything to them, or you have news crews that go through the Tenderloin where you see people shooting up with drugs in plain sight and people literally dying on the streets with body bags being brought out by the EMTs and the coroner, you can't deny it.
And with these drugs and how potent they are, this is poison. This is killing people. And we're on track in this city this year to exceed the highest number of overdose deaths than we have since this thing has really taken over, dominated, destroyed, and taken away lives. And we need to do something about it. And we need to get uncomfortable with being uncomfortable.
What?
We need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
There you go. Took her a second.
Second time's a charm.
All right, so let's hear what the new policy proposal is, straight from London Breed's mouth.
And so why are we here today? We're here because we need to make a significant change. And one of those changes is to require treatment for those suffering with substance use disorder when they are seeking to get support from the city and county of San Francisco. General assistance, GA, it has a lot of different names. But no more anything goes without accountability. No more handouts without accountability. So in order to get resources from our city, you will need to be in a substance use disorder program and consistently seeking treatment. And that is really why we're here today, to make that move, to get people into treatment and get them the support that they need.
And when she said that, you know who got all the way pissed off? Dean Preston.
The worst elected official in San Francisco. I would say the state, but we've got George Gascon.
And let's hear London Breed explain how successful all of these service programs are when they're voluntary.
Our city workers, our street medicine teams, our street crisis response team, our overdose response team, we have a number of people who are working every day out on our streets to provide to support, to provide programs, to lead with compassion. And last week alone, 80 people were contacted and touched out on the streets, asked if they wanted services, provided treatment on demand, and only one agreed.
Oh, God.
What percent is that if it's 1 out of 80?
All right, let's see if I can play about the old calculator here. 1 divided by 80 is 0.12%.
Okay.
1.2%. Took them up on it.
That means it's not working even a little bit.
That is a colossal failure. And that is very similar to the numbers that we saw when London Breed 2 years ago opened the Linkage Center, the safe consumption site in San Francisco. And the idea was you come in, you shoot up, we make sure that you don't die, so we stuff you full of Narcan, and we will offer you services to get off the drugs. Of the 20,000 people that went in there to shoot up, 18 accepted help.
It was such a disaster, the fake doctor decided to copy it.
That's right. And this is what's so interesting about San Francisco.
No, thank you.
Is that everything that we do, they did first and it already failed, but we do it anyway.
It's almost as if our public health director is totally unqualified.
Yeah.
And as you can see with some of the arrests that we're making for public intoxication, people are not accepting help. And so now it's time to make sure that we are cutting off resources that continue to allow this behavior to occur without the accountability, without someone involved in a treatment program that could lead to a better life.
Good for her.
I love hearing this. It's refreshing. Her political evolution has been quite fascinating because when she started as mayor, she was about as far left as you can get, and she was pro-defund the police.
And now she's been scared straight.
It's time for us to get serious with treatment and with support for those suffering from addiction in light of what has happened with a number of people who are dying. We're seeing the headlines. We're talking about it. Everyone's talking about it. Now it's time to do something different about it. This legislation will have to go through the Board of Supervisors, and I am
dead on arrival. Hopefully not, but I know how that board works.
They might be more nuts than our city council.
Oh, yeah.
This legislation will have...
We've got a lot of wackos, but we don't have a Dean Preston.
No.
This legislation will have to go through the Board of Supervisors, and I am grateful to have Supervisor Matt Dorsey here in support, and I'm looking forward to seeing other members of the board support this very impactful legislation. And to be clear, this will be a fight. This will not be easy, but it is necessary. And ultimately, I understand very challenging and difficult of a decision it is to make. I am more concerned about the lives that we will save and the people that we will get help in order to deliver this effectively for the public. We want change. Mothers want their children to be healthy and safe. Families want their brothers and sisters back in their homes. People want to see the folks that are suffering from addiction get clean and sober and get on the right path.
Except for Dean Preston.
And Gavin Newsom, by the way. He is of the belief that sobriety is something that's a fool's errand.
That's right. He said this while he was I think he was in the Bay Area when he made this comment. We keep it on the hot bar just as a refresher.
Clean and sober is one of the biggest damn mistakes this country's ever made. I know it's a hold-your-hand idealistic point of view that somehow magically, I mean, God bless some of you. If you're like me, I've been known to have a glass of wine at night watching some of the nightly news. We all need to self-medicate periodically.
Pretty much what he's saying is, I can't advocate for sobriety because I have a drinking problem.
If you want to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Kevin in the Bay Area writes in the 6 o'clock NBC Bay Area News last night, they ran a clip of Aaron Peskin, who's the chair of the Board of Supervisors in San Francisco, criticizing London Breed's proposal that welfare recipients need to be clean of drugs. His argument is there are thousands of people on welfare in San Francisco who are hooked on drugs, so it's going to be too much of a procedural headache to test them all. How defeatist. It is the absolute worst argument one could make in opposition to it. It's an argument one would make sarcastically.
Okay, I know that John Fetterman has brain damage. What's his excuse?
Where are we going to get all the P tests?
We're listening to sound from San Francisco Mayor London Breed, who has had it with the drug addicts who are fleecing the city of services and money, and she wants them to get drug tested before they can cash their checks.
It's time for the Q&A portion of this press conference where London Breed is asked about frustrated San Franciscans who see absolutely nothing being done about the drug and homeless problem.
What do you say to voters and people in San Francisco who are frustrated by the seemingly intractable problem? I think that it still ranks as homelessness, street issues still rank as one of the most frustrating issues for people in San Francisco.
Well, what I'll say is, and I think, Christian, you might have did this story last week about the financial incentives that were given to people to stay clean and how that program was working and seemed to be effective.
Oh, you mean like the same program where we were giving people financial incentives to not shoot each other? Remember that one?
We need to make sure that we're doing everything we can. And let's just put this into perspective, because I know people are really frustrated, but we've done some great work since I've been mayor. We've helped almost 10,000 people exit homelessness. These would be people.
How many more entered it?
Well, you need to get that calculator. Bring that back out.
And how many of them that exited homelessness went right back to it a month later?
These would be people that would otherwise be on our streets. And the numbers in San Francisco between 2019 and 2022, we saw the only county in the Bay Area saw 15% reduction in unsheltered homelessness. And on top of that, folks keep talking about the numbers. There's 7,000 people on the street at any given day. That's not entirely accurate. And the point is, we got a lot of work to do. But we know before the pandemic, during the pandemic, things were way more problematic in terms of the number of people who are homeless and encampments on the streets. The difference now that we're seeing is the overdose deaths are of significant proportions. People are dying at large, alarming rates. And
I thought all the ambassadors that are armed with Narcan were supposed to stop that.
No, they're just getting stabbed.
And what I say is, because when I made the decision to make arrest of people for public intoxication, there was, we want you to arrest the drug dealers and not the drug users. It's like, we can't have it both ways. We got to put everything at this problem in order to deal with it. And it requires, as I said, time and time again, tough love. We don't want to see people on the streets. Our heart, I know my heart, when I see this, I think of these people as my people. I know people that are out there living and using drugs in those tents
She's got some friends from the old neighborhood.
who I grew up with, who had never used drugs in their lives, and they're out there on these streets in these tents, and the possibility of death is just a serious possibility. So I would say that we have to get, as I said earlier, comfortable with being uncomfortable and making really hard decisions like this one in order to get our city into a better place and in order to prevent people from dying from drug overdoses on our streets.
Randy, I agree with part of what she just said.
Which part?
I believe in tough love. I just don't love them.
Let's hear what London Breed has to say about possible criticism to this program.
These sorts of proposals or earlier versions of them decades ago attracted a ton of criticism on civil libertarian grounds, and that the cost of drug testing, for example, far outweighed benefits given. And I'm wondering if you could just respond to the criticism this is sure to attract from harm reduction experts.
Well, I appreciate you bringing this up.
Harm reduction experts is an oxymoron because
it's people who are arsonists who are trying to put out the fire.
Well, I appreciate you bringing this up because I don't know if you all heard about the program where they received a state grant to provide, for those who are clean, they're giving gift cards as incentives to stay clean, and they have to get tested. And so it's happening, and it can happen.
What do you think the gift cards are for?
Can you give out gift cards for meth?
What do you do if all the gift cards were for Target and the Target just closed?
I think the Target did just close up there.
It did.
Along with the Nordstroms.
So what gift cards can they do? Walgreens, they're closing too.
Here's a gift card for the Cheesecake Factory.
I think that closed too.
It's great. They put avocados in the egg rolls. They have a menu the size of the phone book. Here's your gift card. Do what we tell you. All right, we've got 2 more hours coming up on the John Phillips Show. The Fix California hours next. KABC legal analyst Royal Oakes joins us. Don't you go anywhere. This is Talk Radio 790 KABC.
People have been stabbed in Urban Alchemy. They've been shot. They've been attacked. And they still show up every single day as an alternative to policing for this community.